Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to invite you or welcome you to the District Advisory Committee. This is our second meeting of the year, and tonight we will have a presentation on the update to our local control accountability plan. This year's statistical version of the district infographic and a little bit of information that's coming from our Student Services Department about foster and homeless youth. So with no further ado, I'll turn this over to Associate Superintendent Thor Harrison.
Thank you, Dr. Nicholas. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. So tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about the Local Control Accountability Plan, or our annual update to said plan. The LCAP, or the Local Control Accountability Plan, is in its third year, and it's sunset year of the plan. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the data points that are on our infographic, which align with our LCAP plan. And then I'm also going to talk about our goals once again, remind everybody what our goals are and the specific delineation of our goals 1, 2, and 3. Goal 1, systematic closure of the opportunity gaps. All students will graduate the LUSD school system, college and career ready, through a coordinated, articulated instructional program that teaches each student the skills of communication, citizenship, critical thinking, collaboration, and creativity. Now, under Goal 1, access to standards-aligned instructional materials, well-maintained facilities, EL progress, A to G completion, and pupil outcomes are the subgroups to Goal number 1. To further delineate Goal 1, Goal 1 involves professional development that we provide to our teachers and to our administrators. It involves the services we provide to English language development, to not only the teachers, but the reclassification of students, and what we provide in the classroom to EL students. It involves the assessment of student data, the disaggregation of student data, both district-wide and site-wide. It also involves the completion of the UC A to G completion rates of our high school students that graduate from Mountain House High School. Advanced placement courses completion and pass rate, EAP early assessment of college readiness, which is the early assessment plan, which gives us the students that are conditionally exempt when they go to the CSU or UC system. We look at attendance rates and the increase of our attendance rate and the decrease, hopefully, of our chronic absenteeism in our schools. We look at the decrease of the dropout rate and the increase of the graduation rate. We also look at increased number of students with a 3.0 GPA or higher and a decrease in the number of students with D or Fs. So those are some of the goals that we have for Goal 1. Goal 2 is instruction and curriculum efficacy. LUSD is committed to the systematic development of instructional leadership and teaching excellence in all classrooms by identifying, implementing, and institutionalizing research-validated practices district-wide. So some subsets of that are implementation of the state standards, suspension and expulsion rates for our students, programs and services for unduplicated pupils, and then programs and services for students with special needs. Now, to break that goal out a little further, it involves implementation of the Common Core and the commensurate professional development, decrease of the suspension rate, implementation of PBIS at all sites, and PBIS stands for Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports, communication via surveys to both students, parents, and staff, and that's achieved through the California Healthy Kids Survey and a local Lammersville Unified School District survey, which are given on opposite years. That we provide a broad course of study, and that we are including a rigorous CTE course offering for our students. Goal 3 is 21st century outcomes and stakeholder communication. Lammersville Unified School District will provide its community with a high-quality education, fostering positive parent relationships in a system that is focused on 21st century educational program that supports and includes a rapidly expanding student population. The sub-bullets to that goal: appropriately credentialed teachers, well-maintained facilities, parent input via survey results and other, and then parent participation of students with exceptional needs. The subtext of Goal 3, fully credentialed teachers, something that we're required to have and we have. Sufficient textbooks for all students, well-maintained facilities, parental involvement and communications to said parents, and then participation of focus group parents and students. So that's a little rundown of the 3 goals. In front of you, you have an infographic that I'm going to address in just a moment. But before I do that, I want to kind of give you an example of where the data comes from that goes on the infographic in front of you, at least a portion of it. So you'll notice that performance overview is the subtitle of this slide, California's accountability system. And there's a line underneath, and that is the accountability scoreboard, I'm going to call it, for the California School Dashboard. The lowest performance, and you look at that little gas gauge, is red. The next lowest is orange, yellow is the median, green is higher, and then blue is the highest performance level. It's important to know those because I'm going to point out some details about performance of our students. So with English Language Arts, we're going to start with the yellow student groups. Now, we don't have any student groups in red or orange. We have no students that are below standard. You'll note that the African American subgroup, students with disabilities, both increased, one by 13.2 points and one by 11.1 points, but they did not increase at a high enough rate or reach the standard expected by the state of California. Hence the yellow indicator. As we move forward, English learners increased by 6.8 points, Hispanic population increased by 7.1 points, and then our homeless population increased by 18.7 points. These are all indicated in the green area, which means we are meeting expectation for those students. And then we have 2 or more races, socioeconomically disadvantaged students, and white students all having a rating of green. And then lastly, the Asian population and the Filipino population both score a blue, which is an above average or the highest performance level of students, as indicated by the California Department of Education and their scoring rubric. So I wanted you to see these ratings because the data that we get for our infographic, at least a portion of it, comes off of the California School Dashboard. So in front of you, you have infographic that has goal 1 and then goal 2 and 3. This is the most recent updated infographic that was generated with data from February. If you look at goal 1, systematic closure of opportunity gaps, you can see there that the indicators or the data on that infographic align with the goals that I presented previously, and then the indicators that I showed you from the California School Dashboard. You'll also notice that there is some other quantitative data that we report out in our infographic. A part of the LCAP plan is that you report qualitative and quantitative data, or data that is disaggregated by number and data that may be disaggregated by a survey or anecdotal information, like the number of students participating in a club or the survey results that we may get from students, teachers, staff, or parents. You'll note this is goal number 1. I'll point out a couple of high notes there. The CASP in the bottom right corner, that is our district CASP scores for ELA. Now you'll note that on the left side, it has the percentages of our student performance, and those percentages align with the data that I just showed you when it comes to the California School Dashboard. On the right side, we have some professional learning, LPAC assessment results, which are EL student outcomes. And then in the bottom right-hand corner are the local indicators where we judge ourselves and how far we've come with implementation of the Common Core, certain content area for our students. Goal 1 incorporates state priorities 2 and 4. Moving on to the second infographic, you'll note that there's 2 goals on this infographic. Goal 2 is on the left, goal 3 is on the right. Goal 2 on the left talks about our parent involvement, our school climate. You can see some of our data and our results of school climate and parent participation. And then at the bottom, you can see our suspension and expulsion rate. And you'll note that our suspension and expulsion rate, though we have gone up dramatically by the number of students in our school district, our rates continue to decline. And I would attribute that to the strong work with PBIS at our school sites and our strong work with student services with our school sites. Goal 2 addresses priority 1, 3, and 6. If you scroll over to the right and you look at goal 3 addresses state priorities 5, 7, and 8. You'll note goal 3 has our attendance rate, our chronic absenteeism rate, our graduation rate, and our dropout rate. That data is all very, very positive. Some of them going up appropriately and some of them going down, like our chronic absenteeism rate. You also note below that there's CTE pathway participation. And one of the things that we're addressing this year is equity and how many students of focus groups and how many boys and girls are participating in early college, advanced placement, and our CTE pathways. That's delineated here through percentages. And then if you look at other pupil outcomes, we have the ACT assessment, the SAT, and the PSAT. The PSAT results, the SAT results, and the ACT results, you'll note we are well above the California State average for our student performance on those assessments. So in summary, the infographics contain not only hard data that is provided by the California Department of Education, but we also provide local data and anecdotal data to kind of give you a full picture of what our students are learning and the full gestalt of what our students participate in when it comes to the school process. Any questions? Thank you.
Director of Student Services, Irene Buzatil, is going to present information about foster youth and homeless students.
Thank you. Good evening. We wanted to make sure that we're gathering information from our subpopulations. And so one of our focus groups this year was on our foster youth. So students and their parents or guardians were invited to attend our focus group. And so we held that meeting on March 3rd, and we made sure that we covered the totality of our LCAP plan with each one of the groups, and then also provided the students with the infographic to make sure they were provided the opportunity to ask questions and give input. And so it was neat to be able to see the students interacting, asking very targeted questions, and really looking at each and every element on our infographic. They asked for clarification in regards to some of the acronyms that we use in education, such as SED, LCAP. They had a lot of questions about our student population in regards to the percentages and where they fit in and where they were represented in each one of the portions down at the bottom. And then also the students were asking just for more information about what does it mean to be a dropout from high school. You know, how do we figure that out? How do we track it? What are some of the situations that would lead for a student to not complete their education? And then also we asked for input from the students specifically about how are we servicing them. And one of the things that the student mentioned was that we need to make sure that we're being consistent from class to class, from teacher to teacher. And she said that this student in particular mentioned that she feels that we're really doing our best to do that, but sometimes for her, with the different hurdles, a lack of consistency can be a big, big jump for her. She doesn't know where to go for information and how to make sure that she's doing everything that she needs to do to reach her goal to go on to university and pursue a medical career. So she asked for us to make sure that we're being consistent across all courses, all teachers, in how we're communicating information. And then the other thing that the student mentioned when the question was posed, is there anything else that you think that I or we need to know about students? And she said that mental health is really important. And so the student shared concerns regarding the rigor of taking academic courses, playing sports, being involved in other school activities, but then also taking some of the AP type courses, working on acceleration, and that it's difficult to manage all of that and then also make sure that they're maintaining their own mental wellness as well. And then the next focus group that we had was for our homeless youth. And so we held that meeting on March 5th. And once again, students and their parents or guardians were invited to attend. And for that meeting, we did not have parents or students that did attend the meeting, but we did have a deep conversation with the staff members, the faculty that was in attendance, about what are we doing currently, what are some other ways that we can solicit involvement from that particular focus group, what are our current practices, and what are areas that we can continue to improve on.
Thank you, Irene. So to sum up, we are completing a 3-year cycle of our previous LCAP plan with this final data set that you see in front of you. Moving forward, we will have a new LCAP architecture, a new LCAP plan that'll be another 3-year plan. As a part of transitioning from one LCAP to the next, as we always do every year, we take input from all stakeholder groups. What Irene just presented to you was 2 of our major stakeholder groups. All school sites have presentations that they give to their parents and their students in regards to the LCAP, and glean information from both groups to provide to the district. And then the district has a number of meetings where the LCAP is brought to the committee for input, potential changes to the LCAP, and then to monitor what has been established in the LCAP. Groups like this, DAC, DLAC, and other district groups. Any final questions on that? Thank you.
So in sum total, the focus this year is at really 2 specific areas. Our process is, in the summer, the Board of Trustees adopts a set of goals for the school district. They charge me, and I charge our cabinet staff and site staff and leadership team to address them. And so our focus areas have been to look at the 25% or so of our students who are not at standard yet, and to do a meta-analysis of the programs in which they're involved. And on the other side of that coin, equity. Are we having programs that have a nice balance of students throughout? And so what we've been able to do is develop a set of data that defines how we're doing in terms of, are there only boys in engineering class? Are there only girls in culinary arts? Or is there a balance? Are there only a particular type of subcategory in a particular program? And we've identified that. And so then we take the mitigating steps, and the mitigating steps we've started with starts with a district-wide program called Professional Learning Communities, but at each of our school sites, and our high school in particular, excuse me, as I choke, excuse me, in particular with our high school, is they offer programs that are fed from programs that are happening in our middle schools. And our middle schools have a balanced elective program, and they feed into things like career pathways and career ed. And what they're doing now is we're looking at is, why is it that certain kids are following certain patterns? And each of the high school departments have been asked to look at their performance data, analyze it, and find out how those kids are doing in terms of the extra programs like our career pathways, and also kids that are falling into our success program. And so drilling down is the first step to address those of our students who are not at standard. And though we are outperforming all of the county and outperforming districts like Livermore, every student should have an opportunity to be where everyone else is at. So we're also looking at districts further west of us to see what we need to do to put ourselves in their scores, and we're slowly closing in on them. So you have the statistical analysis of the infographics, then update on our homeless students and foster youth, an update on our LCAP goals and where we're at presently. And at our next DAC meeting, District Advisory Committee, we will be coming forward with the final LCAP version for this year as we move into board approval, which will happen over the month of June. And with that, I thank everyone for coming tonight. And if we don't have any other questions, then we will.
Homelessness. And I somehow do not see Mountain House any homelessness. So for the definition that I got from the young lady right here is that homelessness is considered if you're living with multiple generation in your house, and that kind of thing. If that's the correct, if that's the correct statement of what you want to call homelessness, how is that perceived by the parents or the guardians over these kids who have been labeled homelessness?
So I can defer to Mrs. Boostil in terms of the details of how the definition is put together, but in general, are you worried about stigmatizing kids with particular?
Kids get stigmatized.
Correct.
That follows this.
So I would speak generally to the fact that it's not a label that they have to wear. I'll give you an example. I worked at a urban middle school, and they had the free and reduced lunch line over here and the regular lunch line over there, which was an abomination, right? It wasn't intentional until someone said, this is a really stupid way to treat kids. So, but Irene can speak specifically to the program and how we make sure that kids don't get stigmatized as one of those kids, as opposed to what I just described in the lunch line at a former school of mine. You want to hand her the...
So some of our students that are classified as homeless are doubled up. Some are doubled up because that is a family preference. They have multiple generations living in the same household. However, some of them are doubled up because of need. And so that would be something that's a little bit different. We also do have some families that are living in their cars. We have some families that are living in hotels and things like that. So if we were their school of residence, at one point in time, they stay with us. As a homeless student, they have that right to stay at their school, even though they may not currently live in our boundaries anymore in the traditional sense of the word. In regards to communication and notification, all of that is done like individually from family to family. And our goal is to make sure that we're fostering an environment to where everyone feels welcome and supported, and to make sure, because some families don't know of all the resources that they have available to them, whether it's our resources within the district or our resources that we can get to them from the county level, the community level. And so our goal is to make sure that we keep communicating, and one more person gets a bit of information, and then two more people, and then also teasing apart the difference between those that are doubled up by choice and those are doubled up because of need.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, well, thank you for coming out tonight, and we appreciate that, and we'll call this a conclusion to our District Advisory Committee.